I don't want to blame it all on the powers that be, but violence sells, and the power knows that. And when the brothers was, going up into the record labels, looking for deals, record deals, if you're not killing somebody, if you're not selling a kid coke, if you ain't got one of the prettiest cars in the hood and the biggest chains and some of the flyest chicks, they don't want to hear it.
Around it still comes out off.
Name is Rakim Allah. R-A stand for raw. Switch it around, still comes out off.
Now think about it. Come on now.
For more than 30 years, one of hip-hop's biggest breakups stayed locked in silence. No interviews, no clear answers, just rumors floating around, side comments, and half-told stories that never added up. Fans went back and forth about it. Insiders kept it quiet but hinted at drama, and still the full truth never came out. Now that silence is broken. The man who shifted the whole sound of rap forever has finally decided to speak up. And he's not doing it for attention, not to twist the past and not to throw shots. He's talking to explain what really went down behind the scenes with Eric B. and why everything changed when nobody expected it. What he shares isn't about pride or some loud rivalry. It runs deeper than that. It's about fear creeping in when nobody saw it, about trust cracking under pressure, and about one quiet choice that shut the door on one of the strongest duos hip-hop has ever seen. This wasn't some small fallout. This was a moment that shifted history without fans even realizing it at the time. To understand why Rakim finally speaking on Eric B matters so much, you have to look back at how high they really climbed and how powerful they once were. This wasn't just another rap group breaking apart. This was a partnership that changed the way lyrics were written and delivered. Back in 1985, William Griffin Jr. was just a quiet teenager out in Wyandanch, Long Island. Around his neighborhood, people called him Kid Wizard before the world would know him as Rakim. He wasn't loud, he wasn't chasing attention. He moved calm, stayed focused, and carried himself different from most teens around him.
Think about the first time you heard Rakim. To me, greatness is not only how well you do something, but if you were the first to do it. Rakim was the first person that I heard that started using like inside rhyme schemes.
Right.
And coming back at the end and hitting the, you know what I'm saying?
It's the return of the wild style fashion. It's smashing hits, make it hard to adapt to this. Put pizzazz and jazz in this, the cash in this, master this, flash this to make it clap.
While others were loud and wild, he stayed cool and calculated, always thinking ahead. He loved football and dreamed of becoming an NFL quarterback, picturing packed stadiums and bright lights. But music kept pulling at him stronger every day. His parents filled the house with jazz, so his ears were trained on rhythm, timing, and patience from early on. That smooth, controlled style didn't come from nowhere. It was built in him. Meanwhile, Eric Barrier came from a different energy. Eric B was older, street-aware, already respected in his circles, and moving with confidence that turned heads. Two different paths, two different vibes, about to collide in a way nobody could predict. He was a mobile DJ with real equipment, real money, and even more real connections. Eric B knew how to move through the streets, the clubs, and the back rooms where decisions were actually made. More important than that, he knew people who carried weight. He had ties to WBLS Radio and to Marley Marl, who was one of the most powerful producers in New York at that time. Eric wasn't some trained musician sitting behind sheet music. He was strategic. He knew how to line things up, shift pieces around, and open doors that stayed closed for everyone else.
And Rakim changed hip-hop. He's a game changer. Everything became less aggressive. Think about the way he rhymed, his rhyme patterns, things that he said that no MC had ever said, the way he put words together. It just wasn't bop, 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 lyric, bop, 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 that rhymes with that rhyme. He changed it. Yeah. And he quieted it down and made us listen as well as enjoy the music, but you listen to what Rakim said, right? You heard 7 MCs in a line 7 more brothers that think they can rhyme. Take 7 more before I go for mine. That's 21 MCs ate up at the same time.
When Eric B. started searching for an MC to jump on a track he was building, he tested out several rappers. None of them hit right. None of them had that spark. Then someone connected him with Rakim. Eric didn't waste time. He brought the young kid straight to Marley Marl's place in Queensbridge. That small home studio, nothing fancy, became the ground zero for a sound that would shake hip-hop to its core. The first record they laid down was Eric B. is President, and it didn't sound like anything else playing on the radio. At that time, rap was loud and aggressive. Rappers yelled over beats and tried to overpower the mic. Rakim flipped the whole vibe. He stayed calm. He stayed smooth. His voice didn't fight the beat. It blended into it. Instead of shouting for attention, he delivered his lines like he was speaking straight to you, making you lean in and really listen. Rakim later made it clear this wasn't some trick to stand out. This was natural to him. He wrote slow and precise, counting every syllable, making sure each line locked perfectly into place. His style brought structure, depth, and intelligence that rap hadn't really seen before. While Rakim sharpened the lyrics, Eric B. handled the business moves and the connections, making sure the machine kept running. And the protection. Rakim handled the art, the pen, the flow. Eric B. handled the moves behind the curtain. Together, they were locked in and unstoppable. They balanced each other out in a way that felt untouchable. For years, the chemistry was perfect. From 1987 to 1992, they dropped 4 albums that helped shape what people now call the golden age of hip-hop.
That you can never stop learning, man. A lot of things that you learn on the fly. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when you in a difficult situation and you trying to handle that, but at the same time, you got a show to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of it maybe learn on the fly, but it's a good thing, man, as long as you keep learning.
That's what's up, man. Salute, man. Thank you for your work. You're a legend.
Thank you, bro.
Paid in Full was raw, sharp, and revolutionary, flipping the whole sound of rap on its head. Follow the Leader pushed everything further, faster, and more complex, raising the bar so high most couldn't even reach it. Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em came through darker and heavier, built with grit and edge that hit the streets hard. Then Don't Sweat the Technique showed polish and control, smoother but still powerful, proving how much they had leveled up with every single release. Each album showed growth, each move felt bigger. And then, out of nowhere, it stopped. For years, people guessed the breakup had to be personal. Fans swore it was hatred, jealousy, pride, or secret tension boiling over. But Rakim has made it clear that wasn't the case. According to him, it wasn't about ego at all. It was about survival in a business that can trap even the biggest names. By the early 1990s, Eric B. and Rakim felt boxed in. They had signed with MCA Records when they were young, hungry, and just trying to get on. Now they were legends, selling records and packing venues, yet the money didn't match the success. They believed they had earned more control. Instead, the label controlled everything, and getting out of that contract felt nearly impossible. So they came up with a plan, a risky one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ra. How does it feel to be one of the pioneers when it comes to fashion? You and Eric B, custom pieces and just crazy dope items.
Well, yeah, man, it's you know, back in the days, you know, art imitated life, and in New York City, you know, the fashion was bubbling, the jewelry was just starting to, you know, get crazy. The jewelers, you know what I mean, from the Diamond District to Canal or Jamaica Avenue, you know, all over the, you know, the boroughs, the jewelry was just, you know, going out of control, knowing what we wanted to wear, man. So, you know, from the jewels to the wares, man, you know, just always wanted to stay fly.
The idea was to tell MCA they both wanted to drop solo albums. The label would likely agree, since more albums meant more profit. In return, the group contract could finally be completed, and they could breathe again. Once both solo projects were finished, they would finally be free. That was the vision. Then they could reunite, rebuild Eric B. and Rakim, and sign a brand new deal on their own terms. This wasn't supposed to be a breakup. It was supposed to be an escape plan. Rakim trusted Eric completely and agreed to move forward. To make it official, Rakim had to sign a legal release allowing Eric B. to record a solo track. Rakim didn't stall. He didn't question it. He signed the paper without drama. He wanted Eric to shine. He wanted both of them to win in the long run. That was the understanding. Then the moment flipped. Now it was Rakim's turn. He lined up his own solo opportunities, got the paperwork ready, and brought it straight to Eric. All Eric had to do was sign, just like Rakim had done for him. But Eric refused. That single decision changed everything. Rakim later described sitting there, looking at someone he saw as a brother and feeling the shift in real time. The same freedom he had handed over without hesitation was now being held back from him. There was no yelling, no public blow-up, no dramatic scene, just a quiet no that spoke louder than any argument ever could.
How difficult was it being from Long Island? Because at the time it was Queens,
Yeah, it was hard.
it was the Bronx,
It was hard.
it was Brooklyn, but y'all come from an extended place of Queens, almost Long
Yeah,
Island.
yeah, word up. It was hard, man. A lot of people from the city ain't take us serious yet. It felt like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, where you from? I'm from Long Island. So, you know, every now and then you get that look, you know what I mean? But for me, it only made me, you know, stick my chest out a little more, stand a little firmer, you know what I mean? Because I felt that I was ready for what it was, man. But
when Rakim realized that signature was never coming, the trust cracked right there. And the question started spinning in his mind, the same one fans would later ask for years. Why would Eric B. do this? Why would the man who helped design the plan suddenly shut it down? Looking back, Rakim believes something clicked for Eric in that moment. Maybe it was something he had tried not to face for years. Rakim was the voice. Rakim was the one crowds waited to hear. Rakim was the presence people locked in on. And once that truth felt real, everything between them shifted. Eric B. played a major role in the image and the business moves. No question about that. But the heartbeat of the music, the soul of the sound, lived through Rakim. His voice carried the weight. His pen shaped the message. And deep down, everyone knew it. If Rakim stepped out solo and won on his own, the world might finally say what had been sitting in the shadows for years. The sound could survive without Eric B. Rakim has said he believes Eric was scared he wouldn't come back. Scared that once Rakim tasted real freedom, once he moved without asking permission, he wouldn't want to return to being part of a duo. That fear changed everything. Instead of leaning on the bond they built, Eric leaned on control. He trusted paperwork more than friendship. He trusted contracts more than a man's word. And that decision cut deep. Rakim has always stood on principles. His music talks about honor, self-respect, and standing by what you say. When he signed Eric's release without hesitation, that was loyalty in action. That was him proving the partnership was real. But when Eric refused to sign his, it sent a message that hit hard. It told Rakim he wasn't being treated like an equal partner. He was being treated like an asset tied to paperwork.
you know, before I met Eric B, you know what I mean, I was on my way to play football, you know what I mean. I played football since I was 7 years old. I thought I was gonna be a quarterback, actually, man. You know what I mean? My dream was to be a quarterback in the NFL, man, but things happen for a reason. I stopped growing in 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade. You know, Eric B and one of my football teammates is who brought Eric B to my crib, Alvin Tony, you know what I mean? But I played football, I played the saxophone when I was young. That's what really got me understanding music, man, from learning how to read it and really, you know, getting into it. So when rap came around, it kind of...
Rakim later explained how heavy that moment felt. He couldn't understand why his word wasn't enough. If he said he would come back, he meant it. That's how he moved. But Eric didn't believe him. And once trust slips away, everything else starts falling apart. Money problems can be negotiated, contracts can be reworked, but broken trust? That sticks. That was the real ending of Eric B. and Rakim, and what came next made it worse. Because Eric refused to sign, Rakim was left stuck in legal limbo. MCA still owned the group deal. Without Eric B.'s release, Rakim couldn't deliver group albums, and he couldn't fully move forward either. He was caught in the middle, locked in a situation he never expected. He couldn't record solo, he couldn't move freely, and then the lawsuits started flying from every direction. MCA sued, Eric sued, Rakim pushed back. Courtrooms got crowded, lawyers made money, and Rakim, he got silenced. From 1993 to 1997, he was basically erased from the game, and it couldn't have happened at a worse time. Hip-hop was exploding. Wu-Tang Clan stormed in and shifted the energy. Nas dropped Illmatic and raised the bar for lyricism. Biggie arrived with that smooth, heavy flow. Tupac dominated conversations across the world. Jay-Z stepped into his prime and started building an empire. This was the era Rakim helped inspire. These artists studied his cadence, his rhyme structure, his calm but deadly delivery. They built greatness on foundations he helped lay down. And while the culture was leveling up, Rakim was stuck at home writing rhymes he couldn't even record. He has spoken openly about how dark that stretch felt. The frustration, the quiet depression. Watching hip-hop evolve without him while legal bills stacked up. Watching artists who grew up on his style become global superstars while he fought just to stay afloat. The God MC was facing very human problems, including the real fear of losing everything he worked for. There was only one small crack in that silence. In 1993, Rakim appeared on the soundtrack for the movie Gunmen with a track called Heat It Up. And he didn't just rap on it, he produced it himself, quietly proving he had more layers than people gave him credit for. The song was sharp, quick, confident. Rakim sounded focused. He sounded hungry. He sounded ready to reclaim his spot. Fans felt it instantly. The streets buzzed. People thought the comeback was right there, just around the corner. But it wasn't. The legal pressure tightened again. The doors that seemed slightly open slammed shut.
Do you like this beat?
No, I love that beat.
Okay, good.
Matter of fact, that's my beat.
You heard him.
That's just disrespectful, dude.
What felt like the start of a return turned into another frustrating pause, leaving supporters waiting and wondering how long the silence would last. It was a reminder of what Rakim still carried inside, but couldn't fully release. When he finally came back in 1997 with The 18th Letter, it felt like a statement. The album debuted at #1, proving the respect and love were still strong. The fans never forgot, but the years that were taken from him, those couldn't be returned. Hip-hop had evolved, new faces were running the charts, and Rakim had to reintroduce himself to a culture he helped create in the first place. And after everything he had already endured, the pressure around his name didn't fade. It stretched beyond Eric B. It drifted through Long Island in whispers, rumors, and quiet side comments that felt loaded. During that era, hip-hop was intense, competitive, and fueled by pride. One line in a verse could spark tension fast. Every lyric was examined. Every word carried weight. Back in the late 80s, fans were convinced that Eric B. and Rakim were clashing with EPMD. Both crews were from Long Island. Both had power. Both had serious respect in the streets. The tension didn't start with interviews or public arguments. It grew from the music itself. Rakim dropped I Ain't No Joke and delivered a line about giving someone a smack. Not long after, EPMD released You're a Customer, where Parrish Smith rapped about smacking someone too. To listeners, it sounded direct. It sounded aimed. Rakim has since admitted that at the time he took it seriously. Everyone was young, everyone had pride. When you heard a line that felt close to home, you assumed it was meant for you. That was the mindset back then. There was no social media to clear up confusion, no quick posts to explain intent, no instant messages to smooth things over, just records, interpretations, and raw emotion filling in the blanks. You just reacted. That's how it was back then. And what makes this whole story almost funny now is the real truth behind it. The line that sparked all that tension? It wasn't even about another rapper. It was a reference to a cereal mascot, Dig'em the Frog from Sugar Smacks. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a diss. It was simple pop culture wordplay. Years later, Rakim and Eric Sermon talked about it and actually laughed. Nothing was ever there, but the misunderstanding still matters. It shows the kind of pressure they were living under. Everything felt serious. Everything felt personal. The energy was tense, and pride was always on the line. If a cartoon frog reference could almost spark real tension, imagine what a serious contract dispute could cause. That same climate of suspicion and overthinking played a major role in how things eventually fell apart between Rakim and Eric B. Then came another rumor that cut even deeper. For years, whispers followed Rakim claiming he didn't write his own rhymes. In hip-hop, that kind of accusation is serious. It questions your skill, your creativity, your entire legacy. And for Rakim, that crossed the line. There were stories floating around that during the making of Follow the Leader, he supposedly needed help finishing material. One version of the rumor claimed that Lyor Cohen asked MC Serch from Third Bass to write a song for him. When Rakim was asked about this directly in recent interviews, his calm energy shifted immediately. The smooth tone people were used to? Gone. He was firm, focused, clear. He made it known without hesitation that nobody ever wrote for him, not one verse, not one line. And he didn't leave any room for doubt. What finally came out later cleared the air completely. MC Serch stepped forward and explained that Lyor Cohen did approach him, stressed about deadlines and pressure from the label. Serch admitted he wrote a song called Step Into the AM. But here's the twist. Rakim never heard it. He never saw the lyrics. He never even knew it existed. When Lyor brought the idea to Eric B., the reaction was explosive. Eric reportedly felt insulted that anyone would suggest Rakim needed help writing. He shut the whole thing down on the spot.
I wanted to go on and manage boxes and learn more about the business and do business stuff. Rakim wanted to continue to do music. So we never had a beef. You know, it's like your brother. You hang with your brother sometime, sometimes you don't. We're still family. If I don't talk to Rakim for another 10 years, we're still family. Nothing has changed.
The track was never played for Rakim, never presented, never discussed. Later, Serch kept the record and used it for his own group. It became Third Bass's debut single. Just like that, the rumor that tried to stain Rakim's name fell apart. That moment shows two big truths at once. First, how messy and careless the industry around them could be, with executives making moves behind the scenes without respect for the artists. Second, it shows how serious Rakim was about his craft. His legacy stands on his words, his structure, his precision. Even decades later, he defends that with full force. His pen is his identity. After surviving the lawsuits, breaking free from the legal trap, and dropping The 18th Letter and The Master, Rakim believed the worst was behind him. He had fought through silence and came back strong. Then he made a move that surprised the entire hip-hop world. He signed with Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment. On paper, it looked unstoppable. Dre was fresh off massive success. Eminem was running the charts. The West Coast machine was powerful and polished. Rakim was still respected as one of the greatest lyricists alive. Fans were convinced they were about to witness a legendary collaboration, maybe even the greatest hip-hop album ever created. It never happened. Year after year passed, and the album fans were waiting for never dropped. Nobody understood why. The rumors were everywhere. Now Rakim has explained it in a simple way. The music wasn't the issue. The vision was. Dr. Dre had a formula that was dominating the charts. Heavy drums, street energy, direct aggressive content. It worked perfectly for artists like 50 Cent and The Game. Dre wanted that same sharp edge from Rakim. He wanted the tough version, the raw street version, the intense delivery that matched the West Coast sound at that moment. But Rakim wasn't in that space anymore. By then, he had grown. He was a father. He was more spiritual. He had already lived the stories people kept asking him to repeat. Going back to rap about violence and crime just to match a trend felt forced to him. It didn't feel honest. He wasn't about to rewind his life just to fit into a studio formula. The tension showed up in the sessions. Rakim would hear a beat and start crafting layered, thoughtful lyrics with depth and structure. Dre would pause him and push for something simpler, harder, more aggressive. They respected each other, no doubt about that. But creatively, they weren't speaking the same language. One was chasing impact through intensity, the other was chasing meaning through precision. On top of that, Rakim was living in Los Angeles, far away from his family in New York. The distance weighed on him. The pressure built up. The constant creative tug-of-war drained his energy. He realized finishing the album would require him to bend who he was at that point in his life, and he refused to do that. Once again, Rakim chose integrity over opportunity.
We had different understanding as far as how we wanted things to go at that time. We wanted to do a solo album, and then they asked me to do one. Then after that, signals got real crossed. I got that straight. MCA was going through their little changes, firing their staff. I went through that twice.
Dre respected the decision and released him from the deal without public drama. They walked away on solid terms. Still, the unfinished project remains one of hip-hop's biggest what-if moments, and through all of it, one truth stands out clearly. Rakim's silence was never weakness. It was patience. For years, he stayed quiet while people filled in the blanks with their own versions. Now that he's finally speaking, the story isn't about beef or bitterness. It's about fear. It's about misunderstanding. It's about pride. And it's about a man who refused to bend even when the industry, the fans, and the pressure were all pushing him to. When Rakim opened up, people noticed something fast. Eric B. has never told the story the same way, not once. For decades, Eric B. has held on to a softer version of events. In his view, nothing truly ended. Interview after interview, he repeats it. They never broke up. They just stepped away for a while. To him, it was exhaustion, not fallout. Eric B. describes those years like family history. Since the mid-'80s, they were side by side non-stop. Touring constantly, living in studios, carrying pressure most people will never understand. He frames it like brothers who needed space, not enemies who split apart. That's how he tells it. He also pushes back hard on the idea that he was just the business guy while Rakim handled the art. Eric reminds people that he dug for records. He picked samples. He helped shape the image. He protected the brand in an industry that can chew up young talent fast. From his perspective, it was always equal. Everything split down the middle. No secret power plays, no hidden imbalance, just two men trying to win together. But what stands out is what Eric B. doesn't say. He never directly addresses the release form. He doesn't explain why Rakim signed his paperwork without hesitation, yet didn't receive the same in return. That detail stays untouched. And in a story built on trust, silence around that moment speaks loud all by itself. Instead, Eric B. talks around that moment. He points to business confusion. He mentions bad advice from managers. He suggests outside forces were stirring tension and trying to divide them. His version centers on protecting the bond, like the partnership was strained but never truly broken. Rakim's version is different. His focus is on the exact second that bond snapped. For 25 years, that distance stayed in place. They existed in the same hip-hop universe, but rarely crossed paths. No joint albums, no tours. Just long stretches of silence, mixed with the occasional respectful mention of each other's name. Whenever fans brought them up, it felt like unfinished business that might never be settled. Then, in 2017, something shifted. The reason wasn't dramatic. It was time. More than 30 years had passed since Paid in Full. Hip-hop had matured, and so had they. Too many peers were gone. Too many legends left this world without getting the chance to clear the air. Rakim later admitted that pride and stubbornness played a part for years. But eventually, reality hit. Holding on to anger from the early 90s no longer made sense. They chose the Apollo Theater for the reunion. Harlem, a stage heavy with culture and history. The room carried serious weight that night. Hip-hop royalty filled the crowd, people who understood exactly what Eric B. and Rakim meant to the game. When the opening notes of Paid in Full dropped and Rakim walked out, the building erupted. Eric B. stood behind the turntables like no time had passed at all. For a moment, it felt like the clock spun backward. But it wasn't some perfect fairy tale ending. They were respectful, professional, appreciative of the legacy, yet not inseparable. It wasn't about pretending nothing happened. It was about honoring what they built without rewriting the truth. They traveled separately. They handled business separately. The tight brotherhood of the 80s was gone. But the respect? That part was real. When they stepped on stage, the music still clicked. The chemistry still felt powerful. And for the fans, that was enough. Rakim has made it clear this reunion was never about acting like nothing happened. It wasn't about rewriting history or brushing pain under the rug. It was about choosing peace over pride. It was about recognizing that life moves fast and tomorrow isn't promised. After everything, that perspective hit different. That's why Rakim finally breaking his silence matters so much. By telling his truth, he didn't damage the legacy. He strengthened it. He showed younger artists what really happens when fear takes control. How one moment of doubt can cost years of creativity. How paperwork and contracts can't repair broken trust. Eric B. was afraid of losing Rakim, and in trying to hold on too tight, he lost him anyway. Rakim lost years of his prime. Hip-hop lost the albums they might have created together in the 90s. Fans lost moments that can never be replayed. And still, the legacy stands tall. Rakim remains the blueprint. You hear him in Nas. You hear him in Kendrick Lamar. You hear him in J. Cole. Every calm, sharp, layered verse carries pieces of his influence. That steady confidence, that precise structure, that controlled delivery. It all traces back to him. And when Rakim stands next to Eric B. on stage today, with decades of history between them and the past written clearly on their faces, they still command respect. They may not be inseparable. They may not move like they once did, but when the beat drops, they're still untouchable. The silence is gone now. The truth is out. And the music, like always, speaks louder than anything else. If you felt this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who loves real hip-hop history, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Did fear end the greatest duo of all time? Or was it just business? Let's talk about it.